and welcome to Meldon Law and Friends, a weekly podcast brought to you by Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville and also with offices in South Florida covering the entire Tri-County South Florida area from Miami-Dade through Broward County all the way up to Palm Beach County. We also have an office where we've been practicing for 43 years in Marion County, a brand new office actually that we've just opened. Now, you may look at this young man to my right here, and he is a Meldon. He is a partner in the firm, an owner in the firm, a younger version perhaps of Jeffrey. So happy to have my good friend and colleague, Cade Meldon, with me.
Well, Chris, I'm happy to be here. I wish I was still a young man. I think.
Oh, you are, trust me.
I'm a younger man, but I'm happy to be here today. I think we're going to have a great show.
No question.
Jeffrey is going to be watching, I'm sure, from home.
He's having a procedure today. He's going to be fine. And Jeffrey, hey, we'll try not to screw this up too much, but we're going to have a lot of fun. Hey, look, we got the memo, okay? You know, a light blue shirt, you know, dark jacket. They tell us in law school, sincere blues. So that's what we've done today. But before I get too much further, I want to intro our guest. She has just had so many accomplishments in her life. Stephanie Bales is the president and executive director of the Cade Museum, and I'm so glad you're on the show.
Well, thank you for having me here. Y'all forgot to send me the memo.
Well, I think you look terrific.
Well, thanks.
You know, we've been talking for the last several months about the fact that your father always says it with such enthusiasm. Meldon Law is the official only law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And what a tie-in. I mean, Gatorade, right? The Cade Museum.
Yes, absolutely. You know, Dr. Cade was the lead inventor of Gatorade. And so we have a very close tie to the Gator Nation.
You sure do. And Steve Spurrier, I think we were talking before we went on the air, he was kind of a guinea pig, so to speak, or the team as a whole.
Absolutely. So Coach Spurrier was either a freshman or a sophomore during the year that Gatorade was invented. And ironically, Coach Ray Graves would not allow Dr. Cade and the team to test Gatorade on his seniors. He would only let them test on the freshmen and sophomores. Yeah, so Coach Spurrier was one of the early taste testers of Gatorade.
Wow. Well, Carrie, let's talk a little bit about sports, and then we'll come back to our wonderful guest. One thing we've been doing, of course, for the last several months is we have been doing ticket giveaways for all the Gator sports, and we still have some tickets left this weekend for our arch rival, the Georgia Bulldogs in baseball.
Yes, and I believe this is our last weekend, right?
This is the last weekend before we go to the postseason, and we've got tickets just for Friday and Saturday. And I think we've got, as we usually do, we have 6 tickets total for each game. We've got a set of 4 tickets and a set of 2 tickets. And for the Saturday game, same thing. A set of 4 tickets and a set of 2 tickets together, plus a $100 gift certificate. And this is we do a 25 per person. So for the 2, it's 50. For the 4, it's 100. It's for dinner. I'm gonna have to ask my producer to send me a note. Where is it? Miapa, or is it Cheesecake Factory? Miapa. Okay, so it's at Miapa.
Miapa is delicious. If you haven't been to Miapa, you got to go to Miapa. And I say that not because I work for Miapa, but I love their arroz con pollo. Is that how you say it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it's
That's
delicious.
about the only thing I can say correctly. Don't feel bad.
No, but these games have been awesome. If you have not been to a Gator baseball game yet this year, I highly suggest you contact our website, www.meldonlaw.com, and you can enter in to win one of these sets of tickets. And I promise you, if you see this new stadium, you're going to love it. They did an amazing job at the University of Florida.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah, it's beautiful.
State of the art.
Yes.
And in fact, I was down in Miami last week at a seminar, and I spoke to a baseball player from South Carolina who was now a lawyer. And the word's getting around about how cool this baseball stadium is in Gainesville.
Yep.
And so he was talking about how incredible the Gator baseball stadium is. So I would suggest everybody out there to please go to our website, www.meldonlaw.com.
Click the top of the page. You'll see the link. You'll see a tab. It's easy as pie. So this is the only place you're going to get tickets, and we want you to apply for them. So they're there, and we don't know what we'll have, if anything, for the postseason, but this is our last homestand, and it's against Georgia. What bigger series could there be? Also want to remind everyone that we are live on Facebook Live. You didn't know that, did you?
I had no idea.
Which means that if you have a question for us, just type it in the comments section. Any reasonable question. We always say it's AMA, ask me anything. So you've got Carrie Meldon here. We've got our wonderful president and executive director from the Cade Museum. So whatever question you want to ask us, just type it in the comments section and we'll give it a shot. So please, this is your show as much as ours. Let us have your thoughts. Stephanie, we could spend the whole session reading your bio. I'm not going to do that, but you have done so many things.
Yeah.
It's incredible. You've worked in the private sector. You had a business. Why don't we talk a little bit about that? You had this business that, Carrie, I know that you shopped there. Your father did.
Well, my husband and I, we were working in Washington, D.C. My husband was in politics, and I was working for an international nonprofit. And we both were huge collegiate sports fans and decided one day that we were going to develop these high-end collegiate sports clothing items, shirts and pants and such. So we quit our day jobs and we went full throttle into being business owners. We were designers and manufacturers of collegiate licensed clothing. And it was quite an adventure. Yeah.
You had some great product.
And so you've always been a Florida Gator.
Always been a Florida Gator. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and I attended University of Florida, was a sociology major, and was here back in the day, a long time ago, when we won our first SEC championship against Kentucky.
I remember that.
Yes.
That was the one that was, they gave it and they took it away. That
Well,
was, yeah,
I don't
early
want to
90s.
talk
I
about
know.
that aspect of it, but I remember it was
I
fun
remember
after
it
we
too.
won that game, yeah.
And now you're the president and executive director of the Cade Museum.
Yes.
So I know what the Cade Museum is because I've been there multiple times, and I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
But to our viewers out there, can you kind of explain a little bit about what the Cade Museum is?
Yeah, so it's the Cade Museum for Creativity and Invention. And oftentimes we tell people that it's actually a mission with a museum. So the Cade Museum, we have a mission to transform communities through inspiring and equipping future inventors, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. And so we come at that by teaching science and art and engineering, math through the lens of invention. And it's really a unique way of educating children and adults alike on the importance of invention and innovation in today's economy and society.
Well, let's talk about the concept. I mean, first of all, who invented the concept of the Cade Museum,
yeah.
and how did it come to life?
Well, so the original concept of the Gatorade, or the Gatorade Museum, the Cade Museum, was Dr. Cade's. So Dr. Cade was a Renaissance man, and he had a collection of both violins and Studebakers. And Studebakers, he had almost like 70 Studebakers. And his initial idea was to show the story of American progress, the Industrial Revolution, and the economic prosperity of the United States along the storyline of the development of Studebakers. And so that was the original concept of the museum. And they had a couple of research studies done that kind of indicated that a car museum standalone was not going to necessarily be the longest lasting use of both the collection and of funds. And so what it ended up doing was evolving into this idea of emphasizing innovation, creativity, invention, innovation. So we took the best of that story and wrapped it around in just in a new way.
So what to me makes Cade's, the museum, so unique is that it's far more than just a walk-in, take a look at the exhibits. It's a research and development facility for inventors. So why don't you talk with our viewers and listeners about that?
So that makes me so happy when I hear you say that, because how we look at the Cade Museum, we look at it almost as if we're running a business. Like any business has new products and new product development. What we are always doing is developing new content and new educational experiences. So every 12 to 16 weeks, you will come into the museum and you will have a completely different experience. And you will be learning entirely new concepts. And so for us, the museum is actually like a lab. So we're testing out these new products, we're testing out these new experiences, and then what we're able to do once we tweak them is push them out into the community, and our vision is to push them out worldwide.
What have been some of the more popular experiences that you've been able to share with the people here in Gainesville?
Man, I can't just limit
All
it
of
to
them.
one. It's like all of them. I think we have one that's going on right now. It's the story of Edison, Latimer, and Tesla and electricity. And not only does it focus on electricity, what is electricity? How does electricity behave? How does it act? How do you develop circuits? But then we also focus on the story of Latimer. And Latimer was a really interesting human being. You know, he was born of freed slaves. He was a black man in a time where black men didn't have access to some of the same educational programming and such that others did, yet he found success by working in Edison's laboratory.
Want to remind everybody again that we are live on Facebook Live. We urge you to ask a question. We have the executive director and president of the Cade Museum, named after the legendary Dr. Robert Cade, the inventor of Gatorade. So if you have any questions for us, just type it in on the comment section on Facebook Live on the Meldon Law Facebook Live page. That's probably where you're watching, because I think that's the only place to watch it right now. We will be archived later on our page and on YouTube. And let me ask you this. Let's talk about Dr. Cade and his involvement with respect to Gatorade.
Yes.
How is that woven into the museum?
So we have one permanent exhibit in the museum. It's the only place that you'll come and it stays the same. And it's called the Sweat Solution. And what the Sweat Solution does, it tells the story of the invention of Gatorade.
Okay.
And so I don't know about you guys, but I've always thought of Gatorade as a sports drink. Right?
Yep.
I mean, it was just like
Yeah.
sports drink and maybe after a night out kind of rehydration. Yeah, let's be honest. But what it really did, it was so much more than that. When Gatorade was invented, it actually, it created, one of the things that it did was help create a pathway to commercialization for new products coming off of research universities. Before Gatorade, there wasn't a clear pathway to commercialize products, research, and after Gatorade and the experiences that occurred in bringing Gatorade to market, that pathway became clearer and is now one of the reasons University of Florida is such a great research institution and one of the reasons the United States does so much in terms of commercializing research.
What is the location? I know we know because we live in Gainesville,
Yeah.
but for the benefit of those who may be watching elsewhere,
Yep.
where is it?
So we're in a great location. We're off Main Street in Gainesville, Florida, in Depot Park. And the fascinating thing about this one place in Gainesville is that Depot Park used to be a brownfield site. And over the course of the past 15 years, the city and the state, the county, have done a tremendous amount in creating, it's almost like the Central Park of Gainesville. And it's really a
Truly
new,
is.
iconic, beautiful place in Gainesville.
We're going to have to cut to a break,
Yeah.
and we will be back, though, for another full segment with Stephanie Bales, President and Chief Executive of the Cade Museum. Want to remind everybody that after Stephanie, that's going to be a tough act to follow, we've got Laura Bialeck. Laura is the Community Development Director for Life South Community Blood Center. Her organization, much like Stephanie's, is very involved in our community. She'll be talking at length about the many things her organization does. I'm also going to do a quick promo for next week. We've got a very good friend of the firm, a very good friend of mine, and Carrie's and Jeffrey's. Bob Ganzak will be talking next week about the Dale Carnegie Seminar coming up starting the 26th of May in Gainesville. I've taken it. Carrie's taken it. We've got other people from the firm who are going to be taking it. An amazing program. We'll be talking with Bob about that next week. Again, you are watching Meldon Law and Friends, a service of Meldon Law, a statewide law firm, and we'll be right back. Thanks so much for watching and listening.
The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we. When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
Hello and welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. Today is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. This is the 29th episode of this podcast. No idea this would be going as long and be as much fun as it's been, but I know, Carrie, you've had a lot of fun with this, your father as well. I want to get right back to our guest, though, Stephanie Bales, President and Executive Director of Cade Museum. Talk a little bit about the hours, and you are open right now, correct?
Oh, yes. So we've been open since last June of 2020, right?
Okay.
We only took a 6-week break with the pandemic. And we are open limited hours. So Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 12 to 5:30, you can come to the museum and you can experience, all of the exhibits and such that we have. We have a new exhibit coming into the museum on May 14th. One is called Reinventing Immunity, and it features mRNA vaccines.
Wow.
So mRNA vaccines are a new approach, right, to virus antibodies and such. And so it's a whole exhibit that will help us better understand what mRNA vaccines are, how they operate, et cetera.
Very topical.
Yes, it is timely.
So is there an admission fee to go to the museum?
Yes, there is an admission fee. So it's $10.50 for adults, and then children's 5 and under are free. Any 18 and under are $7.50.
Okay.
18 to 5. So.
And so when would you tell people is the best time to come if they wanted to check out all the exhibits and be able to really be able to go through the museum and check it all out?
So on average, people spend about 2.5 hours. So I would say come, by 1 or 2 o'clock and be ready to settle in. And once you come in, if you'd like to go out to the park and stretch your legs, you can and come back in. I would also suggest that, you consider membership. If you're living in Alachua County or surrounding counties and think that you can make it in more than a few times a year, membership is really a wonderful way to both support the museum and get free access and kind of save a little money too. Along with membership, you get discounts to all of our summer camps, our spring break camps. We have programming that is almost every night in the museum. It's just, the lights are always on. You would know, because if you're not there for a museum, you can be there for an event, right?
Yes.
There was a very special event in particular.
Yeah.
So 2 years ago, my father was married at the Cade Museum to his beautiful wife, Patricia, who is now my stepmother.
Yes.
And Jeffrey and Patricia had the most beautiful wedding. And I would
Thank
suggest
you.
anybody out there, if you're looking for an exceptional venue, check out the Cade Museum.
It was gorgeous.
It's it's got really incredible architecture. In fact, it was designed with science in mind. Do you want to explain to our listeners maybe a little bit about the design?
Yeah, the
You
physical
did
design.
your research. This is
Yes.
incredible. Yeah, so the museum was designed by a firm in Baltimore. The name is GWWO, and they used the Fibonacci sequence as a fundamental aspect of the design of the museum. And so if you're not familiar with the Fibonacci sequence, it has a relationship to the golden mean or the golden ratio. And the golden ratio was used by Leonardo da Vinci and by many other
You
painters.
see it in plants. I mean, it's
so
amazing.
It's not only used in art,
Yeah.
but this ratio is also seen in the natural world.
Right.
And so you see it in sunflowers, you see it in our
It
proportions
is.
on our face
That's
and
right.
in our
It's
hands,
incredible. It's really amazing.
and in the way that a nautilus shell is built. And so the
Exactly.
nautilus shell is actually kind of a prototype for the design of the museum.
It's really incredible. I just
Yeah.
have to throw this out. I mean, if you haven't been, go. Just
you.
go. No matter your age, whether you're 8 to 80, anywhere in between, or even younger or older, just go. It's a wonderful museum.
Thank
And
you.
what about camps? Let's talk a little bit about that and activities for children.
Right. So we do offer summer camps. If your child is out of school, it's likely that we have a place for them to explore and create. We really believe that it's important that children tap into their own imagination and their own creativity, that they learn problem-solving skills, they learn about failure and how to persevere through failure. Oftentimes, the best ideas come out of perseverance and overcoming failure and innovating past failure. So that's what we try to teach our kids at summer camps and any of our other programming. And so that's the character traits we try to impart. And we wrap all of these fun experiments. For example, you might learn how to build a rocket or make slime or learn how to, I don't know, do all sorts of stuff.
Where do I sign up? I mean, Carrie and I are going to go.
Actually, sometimes we do offer adult classes in the evening, and instead of like Kool-Aid or fruit juice, we'll offer maybe wine.
I don't want engineering. I want to make slime.
I think we could work something out.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a couple more questions.
Yes.
First of all, with regards to the camps, how would people sign up for the camps if they want to attend?
So if you'd like to attend any of our programming, you can go to our website. It's www.cademuseum.org. And if you're not familiar, Cade is spelled C-A-D-E. So it's www.cademuseum.org. You can click on either Visit and Do or Programs and Activities. And in either way, you can get access to our camps.
And you have a podcast yourself.
We do. So we have a podcast called Radio Cade, and Radio Cade is really focused on inventions, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. So you can see a gamut. We have over 90 podcasts now. We started a little bit before you did.
Wow.
We got some catching up to do.
Right. We have a collection of podcasts, and you can listen stories of people who built companies like Exactech, or the inventor of the magnetic coil that is used in every single MRI device in the world.
Incredible.
He actually lives here.
Incredible.
So we've got these great
stories,
stories to inspire you and encourage you to imagine and create yourself.
What about volunteer opportunities? If somebody would like to volunteer or be an intern, what sort of opportunities are there?
So at the age of 14 and up, 14 to 18, you can volunteer in the museum, and we welcome kids to come in and help volunteer. And we rely heavily on volunteers, adult volunteers, to support our staffing in the museum on the weekends. We also do a lot in the community. I hadn't quite mentioned this yet, but at the very beginning, I said we're a mission with a museum. And our mission is to be a bridge to the innovation economy, in particular for those families and children who don't necessarily have the same access to resources that you or I may have. One thing we all need to understand is that technological shifts, innovations are driving huge changes in our society. We are raising children, and when we're preparing our children for jobs that we don't even know exist, right? So it's important that we are teaching our children how to persevere, how to fail and succeed, how to imagine, and we like to bring those concepts into areas that may not have the same access to resources that we do.
That's incredible. I mean, and what about the entrepreneurial opportunities that exist within the Cade Museum? I know that that's something that also you guys have for people who may be older, or who may be either in college or older.
Yes, exactly. So one of our primary outreach efforts with entrepreneurship is through the Cade Prize for Innovation. And the Cade Prize for Innovation is in its 12th year. And what it does, it identifies, rewards, and celebrates the best and innovative ideas in the state of Florida, Georgia, or Alabama. And what we're looking at, though, is really cutting-edge research, ideas that have the opportunity to change the landscape of our world. And we've had some really exciting companies come out of that prize.
How special is it to be a part of something so cool? I mean, I can't imagine waking up every day. I mean, seriously, and be able to deal with these incredible, brilliant people.
It's a gift. I have to admit, I have a heart for helping people, so we've got that social work aspect to the Cade Museum, but I also love business and entrepreneurship, and I realize how important it is for our economy, for our families, and I get to play a part in that. And then I love the intellectual stimulation that we get from always bringing in these big minds into the museum. But the great thing, we're able to bring these big minds into the museum and to share them with everyone in our community. And what a gift that is.
Truly, the museum has become a centerpiece for the city of Gainesville.
Yeah.
So again, wherever you may be, check out the Cade Museum when you're here. It's a must-see. Let's talk about some things coming up very quickly.
Yep.
I know you've got a big weekend coming up the 22nd and 23rd of May. It's the, I'll probably say this wrong, Amelia Concours d'Elegance.
Right, there you go.
Close.
Yeah, so it's we have the Concours in Amelia coming up where we'll be showing one of Dr. Cade's Studebakers. It's a 1931 president, and so imagine the Great Gatsby, a really big
Can I take it for a drive?
Well, you can. I'm not sure how long you'll be able to drive it because she's not so reliable, but she does drive.
Okay.
She has brakes. But she's going to be at the Concours. We'll be there for 2 days, our first time in Amelia. We also have a new exhibit coming in. I mentioned the mRNA exhibit, but we also have an exhibit for littles. It's called How People Make Things. And it focuses on manufacturing and the manufacturing process. So it introduces, it's for 5 to like 12 years old. And so it really introduces them to how things are made. And then finally, also coming up in May, we have our 3rd birthday
I saw
bash.
that, yeah.
Yes. So we'll be 3, the museum itself will be 3. May 18th, we're gonna have the party a little bit later. But what I say to my team, we have an incredible team at the museum, and what I tell them is we're trying to build something that'll be here 80 years from now.
Absolutely.
So we're like 3 years in, and we're really proud of what we've done, but there's so much we can do, and we're excited just to be part of the community and share that with everyone.
Well, we are very lucky to have you here today. I mean, this is an incredible opportunity for our listeners to hear about what I believe to be a centerpiece of Gainesville.
Thank you.
Especially the fact that it's, like you said, in downtown Gainesville. I think it's, if you haven't been to the Cade Museum and the park next to it, you're really missing out.
Yeah, well, thank you. I feel like it's a privilege to be here, and I'm grateful for you guys letting me share our story.
What is the launch of Cade Prize on June 1st? I see that in the notes.
Yeah, so I mentioned Cade Prize is this big celebration. And so June 1st is when our applications will open. And there's a whole process. So June 1st, applications open. Cade Prize closes, applications close at the end of June.
Are these for grants, or what is it exactly?
So we partner, there are 2 pathways to enter Cade Prize. We partner with all the Research One universities, first-tier research universities in Florida, Georgia, Alabama. They each nominate one of their best ideas to apply to Cade Prize. Then we also have an open platform. So anyone can apply to be part of this.
And they can go to the website, learn a lot more about this. Why don't you give that website address one more time?
Yep, it's www.cademuseum.org, and then you would just look for Cade Prize on the museum, and you'd be able to apply.
Well, Stephanie, again, I echo Carrie's sentiments. We're so happy that you were part of the show, and you and your museum and all that you do have such a vital part of making Gainesville great. Thank you so much, and keep doing the great work. And I'm sure on behalf of Meldon Law, we'll be part of it.
Yeah,
we'll be
hope
joining
so.
you down the road.
Absolutely.
It would be great, yeah.
So again, you are watching Meldon Law and Friends, a weekly podcast brought to you by Meldon Law. Our primary practice areas are personal injury cases, meaning that we represent victims of catastrophic truck crashes, motor vehicle cases, what we call slip and fall, trip and fall premises liability cases. We also do some criminal defense work. Carrie is a specialist in doing DUI defense as well as personal injury. So whatever it may be, give us a call anytime, toll free at 1-800-373-8000. Carrie or Jeffrey, an attorney, will speak with you about your case, and we'll do our best to steer you in the right direction. We've got a great guest coming up in the second half of the show in just a couple of minutes, Laura Bialeck, I think I said that right, and she is with Life South Community Blood Center, and she will be here in just a couple of minutes, and thank you so much for being part of the show.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. 2 forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat 'em, join 'em.
Well, I was in a truck accident. Because of the accident, I've resulted in 3 back surgeries. We saw advertisements on TV, and guess who popped up more often than that? It was Jeffrey. The communication that he provided was so appreciative. He shows his compassion as a human. He assisted us in achieving one of our dreams, the acquisition of a home, and we're here today with smiles on our face with the assistance from Jeffrey.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran a red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon, because you're gonna need help, and they will help you.
The Meldon Law Firm from the beginning has been built on giving back to the community. I enjoy coming to work as much today as I did in 1971 when I opened my practice. I don't look at this as a job, I look at it as serving other people. While we're alive, what better feeling can you achieve than knowing that you've helped other people and thereby you enrich your own life?
Being a client at Meldon Law was special because I felt like I was really being listened to and I felt welcome by the entire staff. If I were in a situation where I needed legal advice and help, I would absolutely reach out to Jeffrey because his reputation alone speaks for itself. But on a personal level, I know that he would take care of me and help me solve those problems, and I would feel safe with him.
The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we.
I was riding as a passenger in my friend's vehicle. A fellow ran a stop sign and we T-boned him. Had neck and shoulder and knee injuries and didn't know what to do, and I remember seeing one of Jeffrey's ads. So I gave him a call. He explained everything to me. I'd go see him and everything was done. Everything was taken care of. Don't waste your time with anybody else. Go see Jeffrey.
Hello and welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. Today is Tuesday, May 11th, 2021, episode 29 of our show. We started it back in the 1st of November. And Carrie, I got to tell you something. We've had a lot of fun with this.
You know what? It's always fun being here with some amazing people, learning about the incredible assets of Gainesville. I mean, the people that are on this podcast honestly blow my mind. I was just telling Laura, right?
Laura,
I just met Laura. Okay,
Yes.
so I was just telling Laura that I was from South Florida. I'm living in South Florida now, and I am up here for the podcast. So,
great.
Yeah, and Laura's from Miami, and she moved to Gainesville.
Laura, I'm going to formally introduce you because that's what we do. Laura Bialeck, you are the District Community Development Coordinator for Life South Community Blood Center. Did I say
that is a mouthful.
That is. Did I say that right?
You got it all right. Yes,
okay,
that is correct.
So tell us about Life South, and I know it provides blood, so let's talk about that. Who does it provide blood to?
Sure. So Life South is the sole supplier of blood to all the hospitals in North Central Florida. So that would be every hospital in Gainesville and the surrounding communities. And our blood mobiles and our blood centers are open every day of the week except for Thanksgiving and Christmas because the need for blood is always so great.
Wow. So, yeah, that's obviously an extraordinarily important job your organization has. And I know that You don't, like you said, you're not just the provider of blood to all the hospitals. You constantly are doing blood drives. Is there a need right now? I imagine there always is. How about right now?
You imagine correctly. There is a need right now. In fact, I know what the needs are on a daily basis, and today we are back ordered to the local hospitals for O positive blood. And it's been that way for a while. I would say it's a national emergency for O positive, and that is always a concern because O positive is one of the most common blood types. So you would not expect it to be so in such critical need for so long.
Can you explain why it's in such critical need?
I certainly can. So COVID-19, like many places, has been a real struggle and a challenge for blood centers everywhere. And there are many reasons why, but it has to do with businesses are still not fully operational. So as I'm trying to schedule blood drives for the summer, people are still working from home, and some of these larger businesses have not opened up.
Sure.
And that leaves us with very few places that we can actually have blood drives.
That's a great point. Want to remind everybody, if you're watching on Facebook Live, or if you're listening on one of the many, actually there are 39 different audio platforms on which our show is broadcast, we want you to send us questions. You can go on Facebook Live. If you're watching it, that's where you're watching it right now. Type a question in the comments section. It can be for Carrie Meldon, or it can be for Laura. Whatever it may be, we want you to participate. This is your podcast as much as ours, so whatever question you might have for Laura about the work, she's talking about some critically important issues right now about the shortage of O positive blood and other things she'll be talking about. So by all means, type the question in the comments section and we will get to it here live on the air.
Laura, where's your location?
So we have two center locations in Gainesville. One is on Newberry Road and one is on Northwest 13th Street. And our blood mobiles, we have 4 of them. And as I said, they go out every day. If someone's interested in knowing where our blood mobiles are going, they can go to lifesouth.org and look up blood drives.
Lifestyles.org?
Lifesouth.org.
Lifesouth.org, okay. Lifesouth.org, okay.
So in addition to businesses being closed,
Okay.
we also in Alachua County have not been able to have any high school blood drives since March of last year.
Wow.
And high school blood drives are critical to the blood center and supplying blood because that represents about 15 to 20% of the blood that we collect each year is from high school students.
So that's been shut down completely.
Shut down completely.
Do people need to make an appointment, or can they just show up? How does it work with regards to donating blood?
People certainly can make an appointment if they want to, but walk-ins are always welcome.
I'm sure.
Yes.
Do you still give cookies or lollipops out?
We do give
I remember that. I did it way back in my high school days.
Nutter Butters are still the perennial favorite.
There we go.
And we have the Gatorade in the can, which is also a signature Life South beverage.
Well, our first guest ties in perfectly. We had the executive director from the Cade Museum.
Look at that.
So,
Go ahead,
just
Chris.
real quickly, let's talk about the safety of giving blood. I imagine there are people out there who are thinking, yeah, I'd like to do this, but what's it like? Is it going to hurt, or is it safe with all that's going on? So maybe address the procedure.
So I'll address the safety issue first. So when the pandemic first started, both the CDC and the FDA said that it was safe to donate blood. And as far as I know, there have been no documented cases of COVID being transmitted through blood donations.
Okay.
And the Surgeon General of the United States at that time urged people to come out and donate blood, saying that a national blood shortage would be more of an emergency than the actual pandemic.
We have a Facebook question. The question is for Laura. Do you still do antibody testing?
And that is a great question. We started the antibody testing last June and actually discontinued it the middle of April, just because so many people were getting the vaccine. It's hard to tell the difference between natural antibodies and then through the vaccine.
Talk about the procedure for someone who's never given blood before. How does it work?
Sure. So people would come into our center or the blood mobile. They would need to have a valid picture ID. They would answer some basic questions about their medical, their travel and sexual history to make sure that it was safe for them, for the blood supply for them to donate. Then we would perform a mini physical on them. So we would check their iron levels, their temperature, their heart rate to make sure it's safe for them to donate.
I see.
And then the actual donation process takes about 4 to 8 minutes. And then after that, they get their Gatorade and their cookies and they hang out
Nutter
with
butter.
us. Hang out with us for a little bit. So the entire procedure takes about a half hour, 45 minutes. And so we have safety precautions in place, as you can imagine, for COVID.
Is your organization strictly state of Florida, strictly North Central Florida, or is it wider than that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So Life South was started in Gainesville back in the 70s.
Okay.
Back then, if there were no blood centers, if someone wanted to donate blood, they had to go to one of the hospitals. And Shands at that time decided, oh, we don't want to be in the blood banking business. And they went around and asked every civic organization if they would be willing to start a blood center. And everyone said no, except the local Civitan Club.
I remember Civitan. I was a public relations major at UF before I went to law school. And yeah, it was Civitan.
It was Civitan.
That was doing it, yeah.
It was 5 members, each put up $10,000 and started, it was then called Civitan.
Okay.
Okay, and then we so started here in Gainesville, then moved to different locations in Florida, and now we have centers in Georgia and Alabama.
Oh, wow.
That's wonderful.
So are there opportunities for people to volunteer or internship type things?
Yes, I have an intern now from UF.
Okay.
I generally have a few interns every semester, but people can certainly volunteer to help out at blood drives or at our blood centers, help us recruiting blood donors, or other activities. So definitely, we welcome volunteers.
And one of the things at Meldon Law that we really want to do is host a blood drive. Can private businesses host blood drives? How does that work?
We would love for more private businesses, yes, to
Well, I
please
think
come out.
we may be doing that.
Well, count us
And
in.
I will count you in, and you will hear from me relentlessly.
And how do we? And how would someone get in touch with you to be able to host a blood drive?
So they can call me at the center. My number is 352-334-1000.
334-1000, okay.
Ask for me, Laura.
Okay. All right.
And
Ask for Laura.
We have a question. We have another Facebook question. There are many bloodmobiles. Which one is yours, and why is it the one people should use?
that is a great question. So Life South Bloodmobile is the big red, white, and blue bus. So that's the one you want to be looking for.
Big, red, white, and blue bus.
Okay. And you do want to, that is the one that you want to go to because, again, we are the local blood center and the blood stays local. So we are the ones supplying all the hospitals here in Gainesville.
That's a great point. You are the local blood center. This stays local. You're serving the needs. And sure, it goes beyond just Gainesville. It goes to the outlying communities.
It goes to the outlying communities. So in our region, we include the Tri-County area, Micanopy, High Springs, out the Stark. All of that would be included within our region. But most of those people, if they're going to go to a hospital, they're going to come into Gainesville, to UF Health, to the VA, to North Florida Regional.
Laura, how did you get started with this incredible venture?
So I was working in property management
Wow, that's
for
a
a long
switch.
time, and for apartment communities, mostly student communities, and I just decided I wanted to do something that work with a nonprofit to feel like I was giving back more to the community. So I started at Life South at a totally different position, and then moved into
And here you are.
Here I am.
And explain what your position, because you have an actual very important position with Life South. Can you explain it, what you do to the listeners out there?
Sure. So I work with the media. I work with gentlemen like you to spread the word in the community about why it's important to donate blood. And I work on some of the larger events that Life South puts on each year.
What are some of these events?
So one of them is Operation Santa Delivery, and we do that.
Santa delivery?
Yes.
Okay.
We do this every December, and this is amazing. Santa is delivered in a Shands-Care helicopter. It's to the fields out at Santa Fe College, and if you've ever seen Santa coming down from the sky in a helicopter with thousands of kids out there, you know, watching, it makes your heart beat. Even as an adult, it's something to see. So the kids can get their pictures taken with Santa for free, and it's a really great community event.
We are going to have to take a break in just a minute. Want to remind everybody, you are, of course, watching Meldon Law and Friends, a weekly podcast brought to you by Meldon Law. We are a law firm that Carrie's father, Jeffrey Meldon, started in the early 70s. He is about to be celebrated for his 50th anniversary as an attorney later this year. So we are, of course, very proud of Jeffrey. And hey, this is our first time, doing this by ourselves. So I think we're doing okay. Hopefully he's happy with us.
We're swimming, right?
We've got some great guests who are saving us, so we really appreciate it. Again, we'll be right back after a brief break, and we want to remind you, go to our website, www.meldonlaw.com. Go to the top of the page if you want to apply for baseball tickets. We'll talk more about that after the break. We've got a great show next week, too, we're going to promo, so thanks for watching. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
When you're a member of the Gator Nation, you know what it means to never back down. Meldon Law has been a proud supporter of the Gator Nation since 1971. Two forces that won't back down. As the old saying goes, if you can't beat them, join them. The Gator Nation will be the first to tell you that in all kinds of weather, we all stick together, which is why Meldon Law is honored to be the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We hope you never find yourself the victim of a serious accident, but if you do, our team is here for you. Gators won't back down from a fight, and neither do we.
Hello and welcome back to today's episode of Meldon Law and Friends, a weekly live podcast brought to you by Meldon Law, a statewide law firm with its primary office in Gainesville, Florida, also with offices in South Florida covering the entire Tri-County area, Miami-Dade through Broward through Palm Beach County, and also with our office in Marion County where we've been for 43 years. Our primary practice areas include personal injury law, motor vehicle crashes, big truck crashes, trip and fall, slip and fall, animal bite. We also do criminal defense cases, including DUI defense. So if you have a question about any of these things, or anything else for that matter, this man will be happy to talk to you, Carrie Meldon, or Jeffrey Meldon. Call us anytime, toll free at 1-800-373-8000.
Thank you, Chris. Well, Laura, you've given us so much great information about Life South and how you guys basically are helping people throughout the hospitals, throughout the community, doing God's work. One of the questions that we talked about during the break is about determining who's eligible to give blood and whether someone should be worried if they go in, if they would be able to give blood. Can you explain maybe a little bit about the eligibility requirements, if there are any?
Sure, I would be happy to. So people are often surprised to find out that they are eligible to donate blood. So things change all the time. The FDA updates whether people can donate or not. And so someone might have been told 10 years ago that they were not able to donate blood, but now they can. So general requirements is someone needs to be 17 years old or 16 with a parental form. They need to have a valid photo ID and weigh at least 110 pounds. Some of the reasons why
I have no problem with that one. Go ahead.
Some of the reasons why people think they can't donate, but they actually can, are tattoos.
Yeah.
So there used to be a year deferral period once someone got a new tattoo. And that changed on April 1st, 2013, but many people still think that they can't donate blood because they've just received a tattoo. There's also questions about the COVID-19 vaccine. There is no wait at all. So you can receive the vaccine and then go right ahead and donate blood on the same day. People can also donate blood if they take most of the most common medications, so like blood pressure, cholesterol, anti-anxiety medications, those are all fine. And medical conditions like diabetes and most cancers, those are okay to donate blood also. So we ask that you ask us, and we will let you know.
You're the experts, so don't assume, whether you may or may not be eligible. The bottom line is, though, they need blood. I'm told we have a Facebook question, and heck, we're loose here. If you want to just hand me the phone. Oh, there it is. Okay, the Facebook question is, where can I see where your bloodmobiles are going to be? Is it listed somewhere? Great question.
Great question, and thank you for that question. So you can go to lifesouth.org to the donation section, and you can find where our bloodmobiles are going to be for whatever date you're looking to donate blood.
Okay. A couple of other things I want to talk about. So we talked about the tattoo myth. We talked about that on the break, eligibility myths. Are there other, I'll call them preconceived notions, fears that you have to encounter where you have to bring people to a place where they feel comfortable giving blood? So why don't you just talk about that?
Sure. So I spent a lot of time when I was a donor recruiter holding a red sign that said, please donate blood today, at blood drives, and probably would ask hundreds of people to donate blood. And the number one reason that people would always say is that they're scared of needles. So that is...
You probably saw me on the street. Anyway.
People, I would donate blood, but I'm scared of needles. And I always said, well, that's good to hear. I would be way more concerned if you ran up to me and told me you loved needles. So...
That's a very fair point. Yeah.
So people are, yes, that's most people are scared of needles. Right. That's pretty realistic.
Right.
But the truth is that where the needle goes, there's very little nerve endings, and you really don't feel anything. It's like a little pinch. And most people, after they've donated the first time, say, you know what, that was not really a big deal.
I'm sure it wasn't. No. So what sort of other activities do you have coming up? You talked a little bit about that in the first segment, so let's talk about the future from today forward. What can you tell everybody about what Life South's got going on?
So we do have some summer blood drive promotions that we're going to have. So it started in May and it's going through August 15th, and it's a credit union blood drive challenge. So all of the credit unions are involved.
Okay.
And they are competing to see which credit union can have the most blood donors. So we have blood drives scheduled throughout the summer at various credit unions. So there's a special T-shirt for that. You want to look for
when you
that.
You can give away a T-shirt, that's a way to incentivize people, sure.
Right.
And plus you get the Nutty Buddy. Want to remind everybody also that this is the last segment of today's show, and if you have a question, please type it in the comments section on Facebook Live, whatever it may be, whether it's for Carrie or whether it's for Laura, whether it's for me, ask us anything. By all means, go on Facebook Live. And if you didn't have a chance to see the whole show today, and maybe you're just tuning in now, the show will be archived on the Meldon Law Facebook page and also on the Meldon Law YouTube page. So we've got 29 episodes, or we'll have 29 episodes in the can when we finish this up in a few minutes. And please know how much we appreciate all of you watching us each and every week. Is there anything that you haven't had a chance to tell us about that you would like to tell us about Life South?
I think we haven't really touched on why it's important to donate blood. And,
you got the floor.
And I can throw out a lot of statistics, like every 2 to 3 seconds, someone in the United States is going to need a blood transfusion. 1 out of every 3 people, that's 3 of us, 1 of us is going to need a blood transfusion someday. 1 out of every 7 people entering the hospital is going to need a blood transfusion. So donating blood is just not one of those things that most people wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to go out and donate blood today. It's really not in the forefront of most people's minds unless they know someone who needed it or had some encounter of their own and needed blood. So I would ask, people out there, think about every 2 to 3 seconds. You never know when someone you know or yourself is going to need it, and we want the blood to be there. So that's why critical need for O positive. That's something that we want to make people aware of.
And you mentioned, of course, and reiterated just a moment ago that you need O positive. There's a definite shortage, and the other types of blood also. You need those also. So
Yes,
irrespective of what kind of blood you've got, you need it all.
We do. We do.
Well, we really appreciate you coming in today. I will tell you that what you're telling me hits home. I think you don't expect to ever be sick or have a family member that's sick or a loved one that needs blood, and it would be the saddest thing in the world if there wasn't enough out there to be able to save people. So what you're doing, I think, is tremendous. And from my heart, I can tell you I thank you for serving our community, and we are honored to have, hopefully have your bloodmobile over at our firm in Gainesville and in Ocala when we open up the Ocala office as well. And I would urge any other business owners out there, if you want to do something special in this day and age, because people are working from home, we're kind of in a situation where you have to be all hands on deck. So please contact Life South. It's lifesouth.org, is that correct?
Yes.
LIFESOUTH.org if you want to either volunteer or maybe schedule a blood mobile to come and give blood, because it could save someone's life. So we're so happy to have you here. This has been a great show. Is there anything else that you want to say to our listeners before?
Well, I appreciate you inviting me and having this opportunity to get the word out about why it's so important to donate blood. Definitely looking forward to our blood drive.
Meldon Law will be participating. I got a note from the boss man before we left today that we will be doing, and that is possible now. We can do that. So if not just us, other businesses want to host blood drives, you're making it clear the door's open.
Yes, and one thing I will say is that one blood donation can save up to 3 lives. So it's a great way to spend a half hour to know that everyone who receives blood needs it to save their life. So.
Thank you so much. And what's the phone number again if somebody wants to give you a call and reach you at the office to schedule or just get information?
Sure, it's 352-334-1000.
352-334-1000.
Yes.
Call that number, remember that number. I want to say a couple of words about next week's show. We talked a little bit about it before, Carrie. We are very honored next week to have our personal good friend, a friend of the firm and a man who has made such a difference in this community, Bob Ganzak, who is the facilitator and director of the Dale Carnegie trainings here in Gainesville. There's a new training starting on the 26th of May, which is 2 weeks from today. I know that was an amazing experience for you.
I'll tell you, if you have not had the opportunity to meet Bob Ganzak, I would tell you, go out of your way to do it in any manner you can, specifically through the Dale Carnegie class. It is definitely a commitment, but anything that is worthwhile takes commitment. And he is still my friend, and I still speak with him every week. And his positivity, his optimism, his wisdom, and his ability to see, basically the humanity in every situation is incredible. So I'm putting the hard sell on Dale Carnegie.
Well, and no, we have no
interest. I believe in it.
We have no interest in it other than both Carrie and I have taken the course. The producer of our show, Freddie Wiebe, and his wife have both taken it. Heck, our director, Evan, has taken the course, and it's wonderful. So It's the principles. You'll learn so much, no matter what you do. I mean, whether you work in law, whether you work in community service, whether you work in sales, no matter what you do in life, there are life lessons and there are activities, one-on-one activities, programs that will just change your life. I know that happened for me. I read the book, actually. It's interesting because 40 years ago, I'm giving my age here, when I was an undergrad at UF, I read the book, and it took on a whole new meaning when I took the course and we did exercises and worked the whole thing. So we got to wrap this up, but thank you so much for being a part of the show. Catch us next week. It'll be episode 30, Meldon Law and Friends.